Hello and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is Amir Ismail. I'm an immigration consultant based in Toronto, Canada. And I'm very excited to bring to you this broadcast because at AIA, we pride ourselves on settlement-based philosophy. So as Canadians who have lived, worked, and raised families here, we understand the journey of immigration deeply. It's not just about moving, it's about thriving in a new homeland. So, this session that we are arranging today is part of our commitment to helping future Canadians prepare for success, drawing on real life experiences of those who have had the privilege of um, assisting them. So, this session is going to be invaluable for anyone considering migration to Canada, and it will help them to equip themselves with knowledge and insights from those who have walked the path. So let's embark on this journey together. Today, I have a very special guest that I had the privilege and pleasure of assisting in his immigration journey to Canada in 2017. So he's a Canadian citizen now and a very successful story that we are going to unfold today. So, with me today is Jahanban Tahir from Lahore. He is based in Toronto now, a Canadian citizen now. And let's hear his story, which is full of ambition, resilience, and success. So let's welcome Jahanban Tahir without further ado. Hi, Jahanban. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
It's a pleasure seeing you. It's been a while, and I was scrolling through my Facebook, and I came across a post that I placed on Facebook in 2017, when it was in fact 2018, when you arrived in Toronto, and we had the pleasure of meeting in downtown.
Yeah.
And let me just quickly show it to you so it will refresh your
Sure.
memories.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was both of us in 2018 in downtown Toronto, Dundas Square to be exact. That was a great time.
It
And
was.
here we are in
Yeah.
2024.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been
It's
a while.
it's been a while, and
So
thank you so much for that dinner. I still owe you a dinner, actually. I just
no, I mean
realized.
it was great pleasure assisting you in your
Absolutely.
journey to Canada. And today we are going to be asking a very specific question. I understand today is a
Mhm.
working day, and you've been very kind and generous in considering our request to appear in this broadcast so that you could, share with us your hands-on experience, and that may help some people who are considering migrating to Canada, or they have fears and the fear of unknown, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, so very quickly, let's discuss a brief about yourself, and then we'll jump right into the question and answers.
Right. So I landed first in Canada in 2003 as an international student, actually, and I studied at Windsor. I went into communications. I did a communications degree from there. So this is important. I did a communications degree, and I'll come when I finish this story, you'll understand the whole journey. So I did a communications degree there, mass communication. I graduated in 2007. This was when back in the day we didn't have LinkedIn, we didn't have Facebook, anything. So it was very difficult for an international student to land a job. Nonetheless, I tried my best. I took, I think, about 6 or 7 months to apply, try and meet people. As I said, it was tough. you're a young graduate. You don't really know how to how to move forward back then, and obviously the resources were limited. So I felt a bit disheartened. There were other things that I had to focus on, so I went back to Lahore. Fast forward, I did my MBA there. I kept on working in marketing communications with different agencies and a bank. But in my heart, I always wanted to be back because, like I always say, once you've experienced Canada, despite all of its flaws, which people might highlight on social media sometimes, every place has its pros and cons. But I'd always wanted to be back. There are multiple reasons. I'm sure most of the people who are watching this would know those reasons. There's a pretty good system in place, in life. If you're willing to, if you're ambitious, this country gives you the opportunities to progress. Fast forward from 2009, like I said, I'd always been looking to move back to Canada. In 2017, I was looking up consultants, and I came across your profile, Amir. I went onto the registered immigration consultants website, and that was critical for me. That it has to be a consultant, not an agent, and they have to be registered. So just in case something goes wrong, I know this person's a responsible individual who is professional and deals with all of these cases professionally. So I went through that. I contacted you, and as they say, it's all history now. The case was, I think it took us exactly, I still remember, 210 days from my first contact
It
with you.
was very quick.
And then landing in Canada and having
That's
that
right.
dinner with you.
Yeah. Those were the times when the processing used to be very, very quick. And I've seen a number of different policies in place since 1991, and they keep on changing. And recently, they have introduced the category-based draws, which is favoring people from five industries, five different occupations: healthcare, IT, trade. And these are some notable ones. So yeah, things keep on changing. That's why you keep yourself updated, right? So let me ask you, what were your first impressions upon arriving in Canada as a student, and then as an immigrant? How did they match or differ from your expectations?
So first, as a student, right? I was young. I was very young. I was around, I think I was 18 and excited. And as soon as you land at the Pearson Airport, right, the Canadian culture, it's so different. Like, they're welcoming you here, no matter who you are. They're welcoming you here. They're so pleasant. They're guiding you. People are opening doors for you. Uh, not to downplay the Pakistani culture or anything, but we come from a different culture, right? So the culture here is very like open. And that was one of the major reasons I wanted to move back here, because generally people are so nice. Like down south in the US, they make fun of us because we say thanks a lot, thank you so much. We're thanking everyone and anyone all the time. And then when I landed as an immigrant, I felt obviously everything else was the same, but there was one major difference when I landed in 2018 compared to 2003. Canada was way more multicultural. I read somewhere Toronto is like the most multicultural city in the world. 56% of the population has been born outside of Canada. So it was like you've come to a global village. I know that term's been used a lot, but it's actually a global village. Like, you meet people from South America to Europe, Africa, and it's a melting pot of cultures. So, and if you're excited about that, if you're excited about food, different lifestyles, different backgrounds, meeting people from different cultures, even if you like to travel, right? You're meeting all those people here in Toronto.
Yes.
So it's so that was a huge difference compared to 2003. It's way more multicultural now.
Right. Okay, someone is commenting that there is no voice. I just want to get the reconfirmation from our viewers if the voice is okay, because I can hear you loud and clear, Jahanban. I hope
Yeah,
that everyone else can hear us as well. So if that is the case, please let us know. Let me just very quickly check, because I don't want to
sure.
have this session go wasted like this, right? Let me
Yeah,
see
no,
if we
absolutely.
are okay. Okay.
To,
Okay, yes, we are okay. We are okay. So maybe that's the problem with that. Oh, Zubair Khan is saying it's okay. So let me just put it away.
sure.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so let's talk about the very important thing which people are always concerned about, the employment. So what was your journey? Because I understand you had to face a little bit of obstacle problems even when you graduated from a Canadian university. I think it was
Yeah.
Western, right? If I'm not
Windsor,
mistaken. Windsor,
University of
okay, yeah.
Windsor. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm,
So,
I'm getting old.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
I mean, you look way
So
younger than me. So,
I'm trying my best. Yeah. So can you describe your journey to finding employment in Canada, and what advice would you give to new immigrants regarding the job market, specifically uh, in regards to your profession, your exposure?
sure. And I'll be very straightforward here, Amir. I had a Canadian degree. I knew I could use that, and that would go in my favor. And especially keeping in mind my previous interactions with different employers back in 2007. This time when I landed, I had a very clear focus. Like I told you when we met, I wanted
Yeah.
to start working as soon as I could, any job that I could. And I haven't mentioned this anywhere. I actually started with Airbnb cleanings. So there was a property management company. They were looking for someone to clean their Airbnb units. I started with that. The reason is you bring a certain amount of savings with you, right? You have to minimum amount of savings with you, and ideally you should not be tapping into that. So I started with that, and because that was a Canadian company, even though I was cleaning, I had Canadian experience on my resume. Couple of months, I met someone at that same company, um, and they said there was an opening at a call center, and I was still exploring the market. So I went for the call center job. There was this call center in Midtown Toronto. I started working there. It was an outbound call center for a cellular company in US, and trust me, it was like one of the toughest jobs that I've done. People were literally screaming at you. Uh, so I'm good. It's part of the journey, right? And from there, because of that experience, after a year, I got a job at Rogers Communication in their digital customer service. I spent a couple of years there, made really good friends there. And throughout these 2 to 3 years, I was exploring the market. So, with my background in marketing and communications, I thought I could get into the advertising, the multicultural advertising scene, which is huge here in Toronto. I met a lot of people. I explored my contacts from back in Pakistan. So if someone's cousin was, for example, working here, or my younger brother's friend was working here, I reached out to them. I reached out to people on LinkedIn. Like you had told me, networking is key to progress here. It's all about networking. It's not reference, it's networking. You meet people, you don't ask them, give me a job. You talk to them, you learn from them, you discuss with them what opportunities are there. So I talked to a lot of people, and what I understood was our approach to marketing in Pakistan is way different than what it's here in Canada. Like in my experience, it was more about numbers there. Here, it's more about a certain quality that they're looking at, lesser focus on numbers. Um, Obviously that's the cultural difference. Nothing's wrong with Pakistan or you know like that, but there was that difference. So I looked around and I thought that there has to be a profession that I could get into, which I could build my career in. And I actually quit my job. I took the risk. I'd been saving some amount, whatever I could, from my minimum wage customer service jobs. Um, and I looked around, and I obviously networking played a huge role in this, and I just went to an IT boot camp, a
Right.
computer programming front end development boot camp. I was not working for 6 months. I was studying for 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours a day,
Mm.
doing this boot camp. Uh, Coming back from a mass communications background, I didn't have a background in computer coding or software development, but I'd always been interested in technology. And like I said, Canada gives you those opportunities. So if you go on Glassdoor or you look at LinkedIn and you look at those jobs, the salaries are listed. So that's your motivation right there. The lifestyle that you can achieve by taking the plunge. Obviously, do your research, network, and so yeah, I'm now working in IT.
Wonderful. And I remember you sharing with me your passion of video blogging. By the way, guys, Jahanban has his own YouTube channel. He makes wonderful videos about life in Canada, experiences. And I think I might be the first person that he shared the news that he became a Canadian citizen and got his Canadian passport, which is obviously a very joyful moment for a lot of people. But as someone who is a travel enthusiast, who is interested in exploring different countries and cultures, a Canadian passport becomes very handy. You don't have to worry about the visas and everything. And I was looking at his post, and then I shared it on my Facebook page as well. That now this guy has the chance of realizing his dream of traveling without hassle. So that was something great. So
This is very
I will
exciting.
leave the link down below for Jahanban's channel. Please do like and subscribe it when you can, and that will be something great. Yes, Jahanban.
Yeah, thank you, Amir. Thank you for that. So yeah, I because I did my mass communication degree, my major was film, actually, uh, and I'd always had passion for film and photography. Um,
Right,
but what I've realized is you need to have some sort of an income, either from your. If, it's great if you can earn from your passion, right? But if you
right,
can't, not everyone can, right? To
sure.
do something where you make so much money that you can support your passion without feeling the responsibility that, oh, this is taking away my time and I'm not earning enough from this. So uh, funnily enough, I've actually started to do photography professionally. I've got a lot of projects. I'm doing something tomorrow. So that's another side income right there. And yeah, thank you for mentioning my YouTube channel. That's where I try my best to pursue my passion for film. And regarding travel, the funny thing is, yes, you were the first person that I messaged right away as soon as I picked up my passport, and within an hour I was in Chicago. I was traveling to Chicago. So I just couldn't
Wow.
wait. As soon as I
Talk
had
about
my passport, yeah,
enthusiasm, right?
yeah, I was driving down to Chicago. The vlog's up on my YouTube channel also. But
Yeah.
yeah, this passport gives you so many opportunities, right? I never applied for a US visa after I landed as an immigrant because it's a hassle. I feel it's a hassle, right?
It's a
When
big
I
hassle.
can wait for a few years, I have that passport in my hand. I just show it to them, and they're like, yeah, "Welcome to US or any other country for that matter."
The biggest advantage, I think, the Canadian passport is a very powerful passport. And I remember, obviously, I did not have that passport initially. I was a PR, and even as a PR, I had to face a lot of problems applying for visas, a
Mm,
lot of hassle. So, such a privilege that you can enjoy traveling without the concern of applying for different visas. Now, talking about the cultural adaptation,
mm,
we come from a very different culture, of course, and we celebrate it as well. Canada is a country where multiculturalism is celebrated. So basically, we all maintain our distinct um, identity, but
mm.
still we are all Canadians, right? So, can you describe your journey and can you tell us how did you adapt to the Canadian culture? Were there any particular aspects of Canadian life or customs that were surprising or challenging to adjust to?
Um, in terms of challenges, uh, so I'm a there were a couple of challenges. I'm a huge foodie, right? And
Right.
honestly, I love desi food. Um, again, I go back to 2003. I mostly cook myself, and even if I wanted to go out, there weren't many options in terms of Pakistani or Desi food as such. Now, I mean, it's like the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. It's the hub of Desi food. I
Yeah.
mean, it's you just can't like. There's a new restaurant every day. So the food that I miss from Pakistan, I don't any longer. In terms of the other thing is cricket. I was so surprised. There's so much cricket now. Eh, Like there are
Exactly.
like cricket grounds everywhere. I was looking at the campaign for the lately for the mayor of Toronto a couple of months back, and one of the candidates said he'd build more cricket grounds. This is huge, right? So in terms of
Yeah.
the cultural surprises, not many. Um, Obviously, they're way more disciplined. Like if you're driving, it's I still find it surprising. I've been stuck in traffic. Toronto is infamous for its traffic, and I live like downtown core, and it's not easy to drive out and drive in. Uh, and you've been stuck. If you're stuck in traffic for like 2 hours, you're just everyone's like relaxed. There's no hurry. They're not
There's
honking
no.
or anything, which still is surprising for me. My hand just goes onto the like, no, this is Canada. Just let go, just relax. So they're very relaxed, and they're very they're a very polite nation, I would say. And the best part is Tim Hortons.
Yes.
The coffee every
Yes.
corner, right? Especially
Every
in this
corner.
weather that we have today. I don't know. Is it -11 or
It was
something?
-4 when I went out, and obviously the first thing that I do every morning is coffee.
I see your
So
social media stories and all of that. Yeah, we all do.
always
We all
going
do.
for
You
coffee.
can't live without it, right? You have a coffee
Yeah.
at home.
So
You step out. You grab another cup of coffee.
exactly. Speaking of cold weather, we have one of the attendees today, Zubair Khan, is asking questions. So let's take those
Sure,
questions while
sure.
I
Yeah,
go through my own. So this is a very relevant question as we spoke about coffee. Zubair Khan is asking, one concern for Pakistanis and is the extreme weather. So how you found it, or maybe saying how do you cope with it?
great question, Zubair. I mean, I for one love winters, but this gets a bit too extreme. So
Yeah.
when you're indoors, everything's heated, right? There's heating and there's no issue. You would actually be sweating. So people are in their t-shirts and shorts actually indoors, no matter what the temperature is outside. Layering, so you wear multiple layers of clothes. Whenever you're stepping out, you preheat your car or whatever. But at times, obviously, as a new immigrant, I didn't have a car. I was waiting at bus stops. So my rule is never mess with the weather. I'm
Yes.
sure Amir would also agree to this, that even now, if you have a car or whatever, if you're stepping out, you would check the temperature. You'd always
Yes.
check the temperature before stepping out. So always keep that in mind. You're always checking the temperature, and coping with the weather. It sort of becomes your life. You look forward to the snow. Obviously, you don't look forward to the blizzards and all of those. But the
Sure.
infrastructure is so good, anywhere you go there's heating. It's just
Exactly.
it's just that walk from your wherever you're living to the bus stop or your car. That those few minutes are which you need to handle. So you wear your mittens, you wear a woolen hat, uh, you layer up a jacket or whatever, multiple layers, and that's how you handle the weather. It's not that bad. You kind of start to like it.
Yeah, so I take winter as a motivation,
Mm,
something to look forward to, and that is summer. And summer is
yeah.
beautiful in Canada. It
Oh yeah.
is amazing in Canada. So whenever I travel to other countries and then I come back, and if I'm coming back in winter, I'm always keeping myself positive that a time will come I'd be able to enjoy the weather.
Exactly. So if I want to lose weight right now, I'd be like, oh, if I
Hmm.
can lose weight in the winters, summers would be even more fun. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's exactly the approach that probably most of us have.
Exactly. Okay. So there have been a lot of questions about, and as a Canadian citizen living in Canada for the last uh, several years, I have experienced it myself as well. And people ask these questions about the healthcare and
Mhm.
education. So education, I don't have any doubts. I know it's excellent, especially for children, and if you want to upgrade your qualification as well. But
Yeah.
one main concern that everyone has, and it's a legitimate concern about the healthcare. So,
Mhm.
what is your impression on this healthcare? If you can quickly share this with me, and I can see if your thoughts matches with mine.
Our healthcare is free. Honestly, you
Yes,
live here for like I know of people who've lived here 10, 20 years and sometimes even 3 years, and people start complaining about the healthcare system where it's at right now. But we should always remember we're not paying a single penny, right? We pay our taxes and we get great healthcare.
right,
Obviously, there's wait time, uh, which has increased. I think since the pandemic, the wait time has
sure,
increased, and there are different dynamics to that, right? Some people say that they need more staffing, they need to invest more in infrastructure, which they are doing in terms of infrastructure. I had a heated discussion with someone about that recently.
right,
Uh, the healthcare system is free. I've had my experiences, and if you're intelligent enough to just Google stuff, right? For example, my kid, he's 2.5, and he wasn't feeling well. And initially, I took him to the hospital, the nearest hospital here in downtown, and it and I'll be fairly like straightforward and not hide anything. I had to wait 2.5 to 3 hours for the doctor to check him because of the wait time in the emergency. Uh, and they prefer like toddlers and kids over other patients. So still, it took me 2.5 to 3 hours. I was patient because I could see there were so many people waiting there before us, and there was only certain number of staff. But then I just, while sitting there, I was googling, and I found out that there's so many virtual options. So now, whenever needed, I just connect with that virtual option. Again, it's free. You have your health card, it's free. You just put in your information, and the doctor gets on a video call just like this. He
hmm,
he checks the symptoms, or they check the symptoms, and they prescribe whatever medicine is required. And
sure,
like I said, every place has its pros and cons, but you're not paying a huge sum of money going to see a doctor and then realizing, oh, it wasn't much, but again, you paid some money. So your taxes count for getting free healthcare. I haven't experienced the education system. Like I've experienced it as an international student, but my kid is too young to experience the education system. But I've
sure.
heard great things about that.
Yeah. So, as someone who has raised 7 children in Canada myself, I have obviously seen different levels of classes my kids
Hmm.
go to, from kindergarten to all the way to University of Toronto, and I can um, attest to it that the education standards are good. I mean, they are very lenient up to
Hmm.
the high school stage, but once the child goes into high school, then obviously they have to work really hard, because obviously this is going to lead them to their decision of going to a college or a university. So all my children, all you need to do as parent is to give them the guidance, and of course it all boils down to what they do with their career. So this may not apply to you, the next question, and that is about
Hmm.
the language, because obviously you are fluent in English, and someone was putting a remark here that can you both speak in Urdu instead of English, because most of us don't understand English properly. We can speak in Urdu, and if you look at my videos, I speak of Urdu fluently. That is my mother tongue as well. But when you're coming to Canada, and if you want to succeed, you need to improve your English or French language skills, or both. And there are no compromises on it. So if today we are speaking in English, it's not because we want to show off or anything. It's just that we want to encourage you to learn the language, not only in Canada, but also in the US, UK, Australia, wherever you go, where you have good prospects. If you have good communication skills, you can um, thrive, right? Otherwise, no matter what and how qualified you are, if you can't speak English fluently, it would be a disaster for you. So, in terms of that question, is very relevant now. Did you have to overcome any language barriers when you came here for the first time as a student? Or how did you improve? Because Canadian English is a little different. The accent may be different, the slangs may be different. So, what do you exactly do that newcomers should do in order to improve their language skills?
So my my father, he passed away in '98, but he had a, and I came to Canada as a student in 2003. But he always emphasized, and this was back in Lahore. He was in the foreign service, so he'd always emphasized on us speaking in English. We never realized why he would make us do that, right? Um, and when I landed here, I was kind of okay. I used to do debates in school and all of that. But you know how teenagers are; it's all for fun. I could speak English, I could understand English, but my accent wasn't really there. And obviously, if you're not speaking in a language 24/7, you're not as fluent, right?
Right.
So when I landed here in 2003, that was one of the shocks because so when it's not your mother tongue and you haven't spoken it for like 10, 15 years like you have, right? So you sort of think in Urdu or whatever your mother tongue is, and then you
Right.
translate and say it out. Um, and it and then there's a gap in communication because people are expecting you to respond, but you're just thinking of words to choose and then say it. Um, the only way that I realize is, okay, obviously you'll have your friends from India, Pakistan who understand your Urdu, Hindi, whatever language you speak, but interact with more people. That's what happened at Rogers when I was working, when I came back this year, or even in university when I was there. I made friends from anyone who was interested in talking to me, right? And you
Yeah.
just start talking to people, and that's the great thing about Canada. You can just start talk. They love to talk. They love to talk, and that's something that's common between maybe Pakistanis and Canadians, that we love to gossip. So they can talk about any topic in the world, and they talk, and
Right.
they'll be very nice about it. So being confident, uh, again, networking, but it's like you can network if you can talk in English, but can you talk in English to network? So it's like that. But just
Right.
be confident, just keep on talking, and you know, I don't think my accent's right there still, but I I
No,
try.
it's great. And as long as you're speaking correct English, no one is judging you here in Canada, as long as they can understand you. And obviously,
Yeah,
your target should always be to improve as much as you can. Um,
man.
I've always seen, and that was the case with me as well. I always used to be reluctant in speaking to people. Then I realized Canadians are so friendly that even if you are in a queue at a coffee shop and turn around, you start speaking with people, they would start engaging with you, very friendly people, and that actually helps you in improving your language skills. Now, I have a question about the financial management as well. People have this big concern about the money that they need to bring in. Obviously, there is a legal requirement. You have to have enough money to bring in with you. It is somewhere around $14,000 for a single applicant, and then you have to add $4,000 for each dependent. So that is the money, we call it settlement funds, and you have to bring in order to survive in your initial days in Canada. But when you come over, of course, you brought that money as well. So, how did you manage your finances upon arrival? And what financial advice would you like to offer to new immigrants who are thinking about migrating to Canada?
So yeah, I had to bring over the amount of money that they had mentioned at that time when I was moving over to
Right.
Canada. And when you land, right, you ideally, if you can start working the very next day, that's great. I would suggest don't tap into your savings, but that's not realistic. So for a month and a half or 2 months, I was just living off my savings, um, and that is a bit depressing at that time because you've converted your currency, you've brought your life savings over, and you see them getting depleted. One thing that I would mention is go get a credit card if you plan to
Right.
live here. Like if you plan to settle here, because your credit history is critical, get a credit card the second day. As soon as you open an account, they might ask you to put down a certain amount as security initially. Do that. After 3 months, go back to them and say, and pay off that credit card regularly.
Sure.
Use your credit card. That helps you to manage your funds, and also build your credit history as soon as you've landed, which would pay off down the road, 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road. It really does pay off. Secondly, like I said, I got a cleaning job. Get a job. Do whatever you can. You land here as a permanent resident, right? The first thing that you should do is try and get your driving license. You can there's so many opportunities now, right? Even if you don't have a driving license, get a bicycle or just get a delivery bag and start delivering food. You'll make enough money to survive. That should be your approach. I took a very realistic approach towards this. Me and my wife, like she was teaching at a government university. We decided we would do whatever it takes to settle. And I think that's the kind of approach, because if you've taken that leap, you need to make it work. And the system's not stacked against you. The system supports you. Just need to put in that initial hard work. I meet a lot of immigrants, and we all agree that it's the initial 3 years. You put your hard work in, you put your time in, you move in the right direction, you meet the right people. 3 years, and you also learn how to manage your finances. Obviously, they'll be depleted. Sorry, coming back to your question, they'll be depleted a bit.
Yeah.
But over time, you can build up on those. Actually, there's a tax-free saving account. You can look all of that information up once you land. But the first thing first is get working. Go out, start working. You can start doing Uber Eats, start delivering food. You can make decent amount of money.
Yeah, no job, it's small or big or whatever. You grab that opportunity from not only from the point of view of earning, but also gaining Canadian experience.
Yes.
So that is very crucial and very good advice. I appreciate that.
One more thing, Amir, is obviously we come from a certain background where we have a certain type of lifestyle. Our homes are in a certain manner. It's different here, right? Coming from a 4-bedroom or 8-bedroom or 3-bedroom house and living in a 1-bedroom condo or a basement. Initially, you'll have to compromise a bit on your lifestyle. I would say go for the cheapest option, but look at the area, because I've seen people who went for an option, but the area, there's no crime or anything, but just the approach, right? For public transport or stuff like that. That makes life a bit easy, especially if you're coming to Toronto. If my initial approach was to stay next to a subway station, which meant I could go over Toronto anywhere I wanted pretty easily.
Yeah. So when people come to Canada, obviously as a newcomer, they don't have access to a car. They need to rely on transit system. And if they have a job in Toronto especially, and if they start living in suburbs, it will be very difficult for them to survive. But obviously you can't continue to live in a city that is very expensive. So I'm pretty sure that you are living in Toronto out of convenience, but I'm pretty sure that the cost is very high as well to maintain a residence in Toronto as compared to a small town where I moved 3 years ago. It's called Cambridge, 1 hour drive west of Toronto. So I moved because obviously I wanted to have a bigger house. The family was growing. But it was also affordable because I could not have afforded a house in Toronto. What do you want to tell new immigrants about their options of accommodation? Because I don't think that Toronto is affordable anymore.
Toronto is not affordable. My sole reason, like Toronto, when we say Toronto, it's basically, I mean, you can look it up on Google. There's Greater Toronto area, which is Brampton, Mississauga, Scarborough, all of that, and then there's Toronto, which is like core downtown, midtown. So I'm living right next to where we had dinner, Amir. So it's not affordable. I should be fairly honest. It's not affordable. I was lucky enough to get a very good deal a couple of years back, again in the pandemic. The downtown was vacated, like there was no one here. But again, because it's expensive, people moved out because everything was remote. And that's when I got a really good deal. So you need to keep your eyes open for a deal. But otherwise, it's extremely expensive. Even in terms of daily groceries and just moving around, it's so expensive, right? Like I said, traffic's always jammed. I can barely take out my car in certain hours. I would rather walk. The reason I'm staying here is because I was networking with people who, because I initially started living near downtown, right? And then I met few people which were living in downtown. So my sort of network, it's all across GTA, but I knew some people in downtown, so I started hanging out with them. And initially, now what's happened is, like I mentioned, my photography business, which is just starting to grow now, I'm getting those opportunities, which I feel, because I'm living in downtown, I can move out now once I've established that. But because I run into people every day, and it's also more of a lifestyle choice right now, I'm paying the cost for it. And certainly, if I wouldn't advise living here because the rents are insane right now. I'm lucky, but moving out is a great option if you have a car. Or again, I know Mississauga Transit is great. Even in Cambridge, I don't know if Go train comes to Cambridge, but so the train network is pretty good.
But in Gold, this is another town adjacent to Cambridge. So Go train is a good support system here in Ontario if you were to access downtown. So obviously you can take Go train and you don't have to drive. But even if I drive, because my office is still in downtown King and Bay, I know that if I avoid the rush hour, I can be in downtown with my car in maximum an hour, right? So it's not a big deal. So that's how it is. Okay, so based on your experience, what is the most important piece of advice you would give to someone planning to immigrate to Canada today?
If you're planning to immigrate to Canada today, two pieces of advice that I always give, because people are like my friends, my family are constantly reaching out to me. One, the most important piece of advice is use a proper consultant. And this is not because I'm on a live stream with Amir. This is what I tell everyone that I talk to. The reason is because I'm sure quite a few people who are listening would also have seen this, or I hope they haven't experienced it. But I know people who've experienced this. They paid a certain amount of money to someone in the Middle East or in Pakistan, and nothing's happened. They either get blackmailed or the person stops responding after a certain amount of time, and there's absolutely no communication. Or even if they're processing their case, there's miscommunications. There's no professionalism. So get a good, reliable consultant. Amir is an expert on this. He can tell you the difference between an agent and a consultant, but get a reliable consultant. That's the first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is take this as an opportunity. Take this as an opportunity to start fresh, to do whatever you want to do in life, build it up again. And I can guarantee you, like, you can message me on my YouTube channel, comment on a video, and I'll respond. Even if it's 2 years from now, I can guarantee you, if you put in the time, if you have a clear plan in mind and you work towards it, you'll be so successful that you can't even imagine.
Wonderful advice. Yeah, there is I would say, the spread of a lot of so-called immigration agents especially in Pakistan. And I was jokingly stating that in one of my live programs when I was visiting Pakistan, that there are more consultants than applicants in Pakistan at the moment. Every nook and corner, you will find a consultant, and they go an extra mile to convince people that they are properly licensed and authorized. None of them have come to Canada even once.
That's the point.
So that's the problem. But people are very vigilant. Those who are sophisticated, they do their research, their due diligence, and they find the right consultants, because obviously licensed consultants are also available online in their College of Immigration Consultant registry. All you need to do is to do your research. Just make sure that you are not approaching an agent, you are approaching a consultant. So that is my advice. Now, let's support system that we have here in Canada. When I arrived here, I made use of that. That was very helpful for new immigrants, and government funds them. When you arrive here, they give you this opportunity to do the networking, find jobs through the help of these. Of course, there are other support facilities as well. If you have children, they'll give you money to raise your children, child tax benefit, for example. The province where you are, they also pay you money to raise a child, other benefits. But the newcomers support system that Canada has put in place is amazing if someone wants to use it. So how did you find it? Is it useful? Have you used it? And
Absolutely.
what do you recommend?
I'm glad you brought it up, because that's something that I'd skipped. I'd forgotten about.
Right.
So in applying all of those jobs, getting that call center job, or then moving on to Rogers, I was getting I'm forgetting the name of the department, but they're in every community. They help you with your resume. So there's a different resume format, right? Obviously, across in each country, there's a different format that people work with. So they're great people. You don't have to pay a single penny. You just go in, you have an appointment with a career counselor, and they guide you in terms of, especially for people who've come in new, but they guide you how to improve your resume, what skills to highlight, what to say in an interview, and they follow up with you. Even if you've forgotten, they would reach out to you and they'd ask you, how are you doing? Do you want to come in? Should we set up an appointment? Where do you stand in terms of your interview process? All of that. The support system, I would say, is amazing. And if you're laid off, like if you got a job and you're laid off, you get unemployment benefits also. So
Yes.
people do say taxation's high here, but the benefits, if they don't outweigh, they do match
They do, yes.
the amount of tax that you paid.
I remember during COVID times when everyone was, of course, suffering all over the world. Canadian government stepped up and they helped people financially. So that was something great. So moving forward, Canadian values. How do you perceive them? And there is a growing concern about exposure of children to sexual education, LGBTQ knowledge or exposure.
Yeah.
Children are being taught these things at the school. Do you think it's a concern for someone coming from our culture, or do you think that it is okay? How do you perceive it?
It is a concern for someone coming from our culture. Even I've seen a lot of people who generations have lived here, right? My friends who like pure Canadians, they're concerned about it. It's each individual, each family, each group of people have their own values, and like we always say in Pakistan or otherwise, also these like it's your family at the end of the day. Um, the cultural values or the religious values that you inculcate into your children, those would stick. They would learn so much. Even growing up in Pakistan, you would see so much, especially with social media and access to all this information. Kids these days see so much, but it's what the parents tell them. It's how you live your life. It's
That's right.
what they see day in and day out. The world's changing, right? It's not a place that we grew up in, but as long as you keep your culture and your values closer to your heart, and it's so easy to do that in a country like Canada. I have people coming in. I've met people from Eastern Europe, and it's getting difficult. They want everyone to be the same there. I won't get into the discussion right now, but it's so easy because Canadians respect your individuality, your culture, your religion. The government would step up for it, even if I've never experienced any racism or anything like that. But specifically to the question that you've asked, it's my point of view, and obviously we have a toddler. Me and my wife discussed this, and we are fairly liberal people. We're not like, but obviously there are certain cultural values that we hold close to our heart, and it's about celebrating your culture or religious values, right? I think for example, we celebrate Eid, right? And Eid is way more fun because we probably put more energy into it now,
Sure.
because everyone's celebrating Eid in Pakistan or in Lahore, right? But here
Yes.
you go out of your way. So even if I've not talked to Amir for a year, I'd still message him on Eid, and
Sure.
we all go out of our way. We feel proud wearing our shalwar kameez and all of that, and friends come together, families come together, we cook, we celebrate it, and that's how you keep your culture close to your heart. My Indian friends, they celebrate their festivals, and in the long run, I think that's how then children start understanding where they come from, what are their roots, and
Yes.
and what's different between where they're growing up and where they've come from. And I think that's the best that you can do.
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah, because Canada is a very liberal country.
Yeah.
So if you have concern about those, you might want to think twice before bringing your family here. But if you're okay with that, it's a very multicultural country as well, which allows something, which supports something that is very crucial as human beings, is to coexist with other people, harmony, right?
Yeah.
Understand other person's point of view without going into any conflict. And that is how it should be. So, at least in Canada, you find that people accept each other, they live in a harmony because the country provides that opportunity to, support multiculturalism. Country allows the opportunity to welcome people from different backgrounds, beliefs, races, and then we live here as Canadians under one flag. So that is something good. So I see that, of course, you have grown so much over the last many years that you have spent in Canada as a student, going back and coming back again, and excuse me, working in different occupations. How do you feel you have grown or changed since moving to Canada?
I'm a different person now because I now feel that there's no barrier. You put in the hard work and you can achieve anything. Now, this might sound like a TED talk, but I've
Yes.
experienced it firsthand. Like I said, I was actually cleaning Airbnbs, and I was coming, like, I'd worked in a premium bank in Pakistan. I worked at the premium marketing PR communication agency doing big projects like handling Uber's marketing or Coca-Cola, all of that, like big brands in Pakistan. And coming from that and doing cleanings, but I was very realistic about it because I'd studied here and I knew. And if you read about it, you look at people, you look at vloggers, you look at different people who are coming in here, you listen to whatever Amir's saying during his social media, his TikTok, all of that. There's so many opportunities. It's all about how willing are you to adapt to these opportunities.
Yes.
I came in, I realized I might not have the right skill set, so I changed my skill set. And this is the country that offers you. I paid a certain amount, but there's this friend of mine from India. He got a scholarship as a PR. He got a scholarship for cybersecurity. He didn't even pay a single penny, and he's doing really well in cybersecurity. Right. So you just have to keep your eyes and ears open. You have to trust the right sources. You have to talk to people, reach out. That's a good thing about Canadians. You reach out to them, they will tell you what they think is best. They won't hold back
That's
any
right.
piece of information. And then it's up to you how much effort or time you want to put in. Even these days when I'm getting bored, I would just take out my car and start doing Uber because I meet new people. And they ask me, why, what do you do? I work in tech. Oh, why are you doing Uber then? Because I want to meet new people. I want to talk to them, right?
Yes.
That's why I say I'm a different person. These 4 or 5 years, I think, have taught me way more than I'd learned in the last 35 years.
So it's all boils down to your own flexibility, right? Your adaptability, how adaptable you are. When I was practicing immigration in the 90s, there were actually points for adaptability, right? We used to call it Mario. Mario stands for motivation, adaptability, resourcefulness, initiative, and other factors. Like the visa officer used to assess you on Mario in 90s.
Right.
And we used to coach clients how to act during an interview. You have to be adaptable and not not forgo any opportunity that comes your way,
Yeah.
even if it's a small opportunity. Take it up
Oh yeah.
and build it from scratch. Now, what are your future plans now? How do you envision your future in Canada? And would you consider moving to any other country at any stage of your life, like at an old age, you want to retire somewhere else? Do you have those plans?
Retired? No, Canada's place to live when you're retired. You get a pension
Exactly.
from the government, free
Yes.
healthcare, all of that, right? I have relatives who are old, and the kind of services they get, oh, it's
Yes.
five-star life when you're retired. So no, no, never leaving Canada. I've been looking at opportunities since I got my passport, right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
obviously I talked to a lot of people, and now that I'm in tech, I was looking at opportunities down south, which is US. I know there's a lot of money there, but there are other
Yes.
factors like education, right? Public schools. We know what the issues are there. I
Right.
won't highlight those. So I have a kid. I need to see. He has to go to school in a couple of years, which is free. It's free. Public schools are free in the US also, but security issues, all of that. Uh, and I was even looking at Dubai. Um, but what I've
Right.
realized is there's a certain pace of life. Now I'm 40, I just turned 40. There's a certain pace of life that I've adjusted to over these previous 5 years. I know the system. I've put in these 5 years. I put in a lot of effort, and I've just
Yes.
started to reap the fruit now. Um, and when it comes to Dubai or the US or for example Europe, if I want
Yes.
to go start doing something or set up some sort of a partnership, because I'm looking at exploring certain opportunities in that
Sure.
realm. Uh, I
Mhm.
have my Canadian passport, so my roots would stay in Toronto. Have started to love
Yes.
the city. This is home for me now, and I can basically go anywhere, do anything that I
Anywhere.
want, and come back to Canada. So Canada is where I'll be, yeah, forever.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan because there are people who are coming from different parts of the world to Canada, but they're
Mhm.
finding it difficult to qualify at this point in time. Middle East could be their transit point. They can go there,
Yes.
then come to Canada. Uh, but if you already have a Canadian passport, you have the world open for you with the
True.
assurance that if you don't succeed there, you can always come back to Canada and
Yeah.
enjoy Canadian benefits. But if you don't have a Canadian passport or US passport and you are in, say, Dubai, very, very good place to live, good
Yeah.
high standard living lifestyle, good salaries as well. But there's
Yeah.
always a concern. What if you have to go back, right?
Mhm.
So by all means, take the opportunity of going to Dubai. I in fact opened up my office in Dubai recently, and I'm also planning that I should spend more time in Dubai. But I can perhaps afford to do that because I know that if I fail, I will always be welcome back in Canada. So
Yeah.
yeah, it all depends what your situation circumstances are. So targeting Canadian passport makes a lot of sense then, right?
It does. It's a highlight of my life, like getting that passport because you you envision something, right? Obviously, with your help, I was able to land here, and then since 2003, I'd always wanted that passport, and now that I have that passport, uh, the opportunities are unlimited. It's it's so funny that every other day I'm making a travel plan, and then my wife is like, "Oh, but we don't have these days off." So it's just you just need to buy a ticket and you just need to fly out, right? Basically. So so it's gotten to that now. Oh, where do we want to go this summer, or
Okay, so there is a very relevant question, and we are
Mhm.
closing into our 1 hour of
True.
session. So we'll be taking one more question from one of our attendees. It's a very relevant question, and since you mentioned 40, I'm telling you you're not old, because if I call you old, then I'm in big trouble, right? I will have to call myself old as well.
No, but you
You
look
are
younger than me,
11
and I
years.
know that you
You
put
are
in so
11
much
years younger
effort.
than me.
I've seen your journey. and it's an inspiration. Your fitness journey. We should do another live stream where maybe I should ask questions and you guide us on your fitness journey, because it's amazing. If you go on Amir's social media, if you're listening to this, and if you go on Amir's social media, just check out his fitness journey, regardless of him being an immigration expert. Okay, that's the question.
Right. That's the question. So Castor Kayum from LinkedIn has asked this
Mhm.
question. How about immigrating to Canada after age 40? Is that recommended for an experienced IT professional?
I think the age factor, Amir, you can address that part of the question, but I can address the second part. In my experience, if you are an IT professional, this is the place to be. The sooner you make the move, the better off you'll be. And you can my LinkedIn profile's off these days, but I'll switch it back on. And if you want to reach out on my social, they can reach out, anyone who wants to. Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. My name's on the screen right now, and those are my socials too. But the opportunities in IT, and that's the reason I moved into IT, are unlimited. For example, sitting in Canada, you can get work from the US. You can get work from anywhere, right? As long as you are a Canadian citizen. So that'll take you 3 or 4 years max after you've landed. And IT, despite what the global economy is going through, despite the layoffs everywhere, IT is still the place to be. And if you're an IT professional, and knowing IT professionals in Pakistan, they're so skilled. Pakistan, India, anywhere else, I've met them, I've worked with them. They're so skilled, and I can guarantee if you move here as an IT professional, sky's the limit for you.
Indeed, and I second that, because especially after pandemic, people were at home. All these online services, they boomed. I mean, kids age 15 and 16, they made millions out of it, and they're still doing it. So
Yes.
all these systems, of course, they run on IT, and there's always going to be a demand. It's not dead. The e-commerce is booming at this point in time. If you are 40 years of age, trust me, you are very young, right? You have a lot of time, mashallah. You have a family. If you want a good, because obviously there are other motivations as well. It's not only about your own career. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your own career for the sake of getting what you're not getting at the place where you are currently residing.
Exactly.
Right.
My wife had a great career in Pakistan. She's an artist. She was teaching at Punjab University and NCA in Lahore, and she was doing shows all over the world. She sacrificed her career, her booming art career, and she moved here. But it's for the long term, right? Now, after settling as a citizen, she recently did a show in Germany, because it's so easy now. But obviously, you have to make sacrifices. You have to take the leap, and with Canada, it at least gives you that support, right? So
Exactly.
if you can't land a job, or if you landed a job and then you got laid off, there's that social
Yes.
structure to keep you afloat. You're not paying medical bills. Government takes care of that. Our basic concerns are medical bills or education, right, for our kids. Those are all taken care of. God forbid you lose your job or anything, you're still
Yeah.
good.
And in terms of the safety and security and the
Yeah.
respect for women that we have here, I've raised 7 kids. 6 of them are girls, and I have never had any problems or any concerns. I travel a lot, frequently, and I sometimes are away for a month or more when I'm conducting my immigration seminars elsewhere in the world. So if you obviously are concerned about the safety and security where you are right now for your family, Canada provides that safety and security, assures that. It's way different than the news we hear down south, what's happening there.
Mhm. Way different.
It has less population as well, of course,
Yeah.
but I think it's a great place to raise your family and be confident about it. So, what message would you like to give to our audience in closing if they are considering migrating to Canada today?
Mhm.
Uh, should they do it or should they not? That's the $1 million question.
I would give the message of whatever I told myself in 2017. I have to do it.
Right.
I, and I'll do it today. I will start it right now. It'll take some effort getting all those documents, everything in. It's a leap of faith.
Sure.
You're leaving the place that you were born in or you've been raised in. You might have to leave family, friends, all of that. Good food. Food is great here also. Now, food is not an issue, but stuff you love, right? It's difficult to detach yourself from all of that. But take that step today, and 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you would not regret it.
I appreciate that. But before we leave, I'll show you this picture again so that it reminds you we need to take this selfie again. This was from 2017 when I met with Jahanban Tahir in downtown Toronto at Dundas Square. So
this also reminds me that Amir's lost a lot of weight and I've gained a lot of weight.
But you look good. You look okay.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much, Jahanban, for joining us today. It's a pleasure having you. I'm looking forward to seeing you hopefully very soon. And thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.
And if you have any questions and if you want to reach out to Jahanban, I'm going to leave his contact, the channels that he operates, the social handles, and you can always get in touch with him. Okay. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.